I said congrats on the new laptop. And what are you getting? Is it a Mac? What's up, everybody? My name is Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. Today, I am pleased to announce my latest and greatest faceplant bank, which is Requiem 3. It is kind of somber in some cases because this is the last one that I'm going to be doing for a while. And it's not because like I hate them or anything. It's actually because in the future I want to try to design stuff that's going to be a little bit easier for people to get their hands on. And what I mean by that is that these patches, or at least what I'm going to be showcasing, is just a lot. It does everything. That's not clickbait with the title. I'm going to break one of these patches down for you and just show you how much stuff is in them. And then I'll do some demos and show you some of the other things that I've included as well. So this doesn't have quite as many like super racks as I usually do, but that's because this other stuff has like 50 something, almost 60 like individual bases that are kind of just like one-offs. And I typically don't like to do these, but you know, every once in a while it's kind of nice to just do in the midst of a track or something. But yeah, there's bases that are kind of like, you know, just things that are supposed to be easy to work with. You know, there's also like, which isn't really my genre, but you know, just different things that are like, oh, well, here's like this in one specific context. And then also most of the Requiem stuff that I've done with these super patches have all been like base oriented and done everything. And then what I've done in a few of these other ones is kind of like take that idea, but separate it into stuff that's supposed to be more for musical cases. So if you all have seen the tutorials that I've done with things like the effect selector and stuff, what this has is basically like, this is basically what you would say is a super patch, but it's with granular instead, because what it does is it can morph in between all of these different basically sounds, I guess, if you will. And that's kind of awesome because if I turn this off and I wanted to focus on like having one patch to be able to customize it, if I play something, actually we're gonna use this. Which I need to turn off the MPE on this for now, which all of these, I mean, before back in the day, these were really focused on MPE, and that's actually how these things started. Hey, Dragon Bits, or Dragon Bite, but you've given up on Apple, i7, 16 DDR, 240, ooh, quad screen, okay, all right, you're cooking. But yeah, so if I just play a note, and then I cycle here, it's going to activate a different granular. And so what's really cool about that is that you can cycle through all of these and customize your own stuff. And then when we talk about what we're getting ready to talk about here in a little bit, you can add some of these racks that I have here say like, let's use like Milton, and we can turn on the pad, and now this has an arpeggiator on it, so we're going to which is really nice. And then we can like cycle into a different one. And so with these factories that we have, they're kind of designed to be able to help you figure out just like how to get a track started. And there's a lot of stuff to love about them. Let me go ahead and turn that down an octave. Hey, Necron. And you can see that it's morphing in between these while it's playing an arpeggiator. It just gives you a huge variety of different sounds, and that's part of what was the whole mindset of this. Was I wanted to take inspiration from the super patches that I've built from before, and these are mostly templates, but some of them are kind of filled out. For example, Balam Garden was the thing that I did for the phase plant. I wanted to see if I had any remaps on here. I do. This was for the Faceplant Chronicles episode 7, I believe. They're just nice. They give you so much stuff. Sorry, I haven't used this thing in a while, but it's funny that I'm like more accustomed to using the QWERTY keyboard. Oops. Yeah, it's nice. So there's 13 of those, and this is designed to help you just get into other stuff. Then there's the miscellaneous things. These are also just other one-off things that are kind of nice. So this was the last one that I threw into it, but there's a clever trick in this where I made half of the waveform a square wave and then the other half of the waveform into noise using the bias. And if you've ever seen like a SID chip of like waveforms, you would know that it would be like a sine wave would be half of the waveform on top, and then the bottom half would be like basically some kind of crazy noise. And so this is just a really easy kind of thing to yeah, which is super cool. There's some other stuff in here though that sounds really nice. So I definitely wanted to give you a lot of variety and just kind of really cover as much ground as possible. So with that, I've also included templates for what we're going to get into now, but with all of these, they do everything. They literally do everything. I've made entire tracks with these since pretty much what, Eternum 1. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into what these do. This is a lot. So everything that's covered in this is all in a single patch. So let's start off with just the bass sounds. Um, it's usually just a simple waveform and doesn't sound that interesting at the very beginning. Not too exciting, but it's still usable, especially if you were to just add some distortion to this. So the reason why I didn't do that is because when you start to see me turn on all this other stuff, you're gonna be like, oh, that's why. But yeah, if you just wanted to use this as kind of like an aggressive bass, you absolutely could. These all have their own wavetable. And as you can probably hear, what we're about to get into now, we're going to kind of cut the filter on and let loose, which these are pretty aggressive. So. Yeah. So within these, as you'll see, we have filter, perk, pad, granular, pluck, glitch, metal hit. And what's cool about them is that they are all confined to Multipass and Snap Heap racks respectively. And so because of that, it's freaking awesome that you can take these and combine them into your own patches if you want to. So if I were to just like start, for whatever reason, start a brand new patch and be like, all right, we're just going to use the template that I've included. Then I can go in here, I can select a new table that this is part of. So we can pick something like Gravekeeper. Then I can go in here and go into the Requiem 3 and be like, okay, let's try the Avalon filter. And then let's try the Gloomy Gulch perk. And then we can try the Milton PP, which stands for pad pluck. If anybody's wondering, I'm sure some people are going to ask about that. Then we can do the Nest of Evil glitch, and then we can do something that's a metal hit, RS metal. And so now very quickly we've created our own custom patch that is all ready to go. And you can take these out individually and apply it to your other synths like Serum and, I don't know, Current or whatever. But there's a modularity to this because you have wavetables, you have these effect racks, and then you have these other things that we'll get into in a bit, which I've actually created individual sequences for this, which is basically like a pseudo arpeggiator. And then another thing is that there's over 130 samples that I've included that are all within C. And so all of these, when we switch to the granular mode here, you can kind of cycle in as well. And this works better for the musical stuff, but even still, it's nice to be able to modulate between having a really solid electronic waveform into something that's a sample. And the reason why this is important in particular is because if you were to bounce out some filter movement and then toss it back into the granular, then you are essentially getting like bass movement and stuff, and it's like just a continuous thing that works for itself within Faceplant. Does that make sense? Or like, sorry if that was a mouthful, but there is so much potential with this pack, and I'm very proud of it because this is, something that I've been developing for 6 years now. I want to say almost since I started the YouTube channel. But yeah, you can cycle through some of these, which is really nice. And then if you were to turn on something like the pad, you can turn the filtering off. We can also turn the pluck on, so this is going to be more of a one-off. And then of course you can manipulate the granular stuff as well, or you can set this to the sync and density, but I only have space for 8 racks, so there's that. Otherwise I would macro everything if I possibly could. But since we're on the topic of the musical stuff, like I said before, I've introduced a sequencer, and so there's however many sequences in here, but what's cool about this is that this is an LFO table, and what this does is it will morph in between melodies, and all of them are set to Gregorian Phrygian just because that's the kind of music that I make. But these two guys over here will either modulate the frame place if you want randomized melodies that are in scale, or it'll offset the phase so that way it'll give it a little bit of swing, which is really nice. So if we have this set to the pad, this will create a melody out of this, and you need to play one note or octaves or fifths as of now because this isn't MIDI. This is just changing the pitch. But even still, if you're stuck on inspiration and stuff, and you're like, oh, I need a melody, well, what happens if we play something in F? And as you can see, it kind of jumps with the phase, and that's because I've randomized the position of this to give it a little bit of swing. And so it's really nice that it's not just like dead on grid. And so when you work with that, and then also in tandem with the sync or the density, then you can get some really nice rhythms with this. Or if we play octaves. Yeah, so combining all that stuff and then getting down in here is really cool. And then of course you can just go back to this if you want to. And something that I've done with this is you'll notice that the higher note you play, the more detuning we add. And you can always reduce it if you want to, but it's just more for the bass because these are like supposed to be bass patches. But it also works when you're trying to create like a bass line. And as you can see, like there's just a lot of weight to it, which is nice. Something else that I've improved is I've improved the sub. So if you just want a regular sub, this is going to pick up a little bit more. It doesn't seem like much, but I've added some, hey, May, but I've added some ways to like help balance it out to where it's actually like a nice thick 808 or sub-res if need be. So there's that. And then also regarding the bass stuff, something that I wanted to talk about with this that's pretty important is that on not all of them, but some of these have a bandpass mode, which is kind of just me activating a bandpass through this. And so this will kind of help you gain more timbre. But also through most of these, you have this thing that's LFO versus random. And one of the major things that I wanted to do with this is just make it more usable. And so if you wanted to, if you turn this back on, you'll see that right now it's being randomized. But if we set it to an LFO pattern, you can actually open up these tables and create a consistent pattern and get the same thing every time. So check that out. And you really want to kind of mess with this to see like what kind of movement you can get. And you'll see that they'll pick up as the pitch plays. Keep in mind that if you put this over audio, it's not going to follow it because there's no MIDI for this to track. But there is a note tracker on here that is kind of paying attention to all that stuff. And then of course, if you want to go back to random, then this will kind of cycle through everything and go back to that, which is cool. You can also play with putting these in different positions because it will give you different movement. And then of course you can activate the bandpass modes just for other stuff, which helps it give it a little bit more vocal stuff sometimes. Which is pretty cool. And so yeah, like in no time at all, we pretty much built our own custom patch that gives us a lot more variation. And then cycle through the wavetables, you know, change the different stuff. There's like, this is a sound design playground that's meant to just hopefully take care of all your needs. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the percussion, because this is actually how I make my kicks and snares. I can walk you through that. I don't really want to bore you, but I'll show you some steps. But basically all I do is I just hit any note. It doesn't matter. That's a snare. Just kind of waiting for a kick now. Something that's kind of like a kick. And that's the thing, is like, it's the percussion is randomized, but I like that because there we go. Because what happens now is we've got all these sounds, and what you can do is a couple of things. One is, if you wanted to, you can just kind of use these as dummies to help you get some drums started. For me personally, I try to just like source out kicks and snares and stuff with this. So if I'd be like, all right, I'm going to turn this into a kick, which if you haven't watched my kick tutorial, just go watch that and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So we can be like, okay, I'm going to take this through some processing and make this into a kick. It probably needs to be a little bit lower. I would do a lot of processing to this, so let that be known. That's not like just a kick. But a lot of this stuff is definitely snare material or clap material, so that's actually kind of cool. And if you wanted something natural, then that's another thing that you could do too. But if we kind of make that a little bit early, and we just take this one, kind of like so, and we paste that right here. And then we copy this, go like that. Well, now we've got a loop to work with. And then if I don't like that, I can swap it and just, you know, you've got all these cool sounds that very minimal effort. So like, let's say I wanted to process this very quickly. I don't want to turn this into a drum tutorial, but I can use something like a replacer and go into this, have something that's dry, have something that's wet, turn this on. And in this, I'm going to make an E clap. You can also use a sampler if you want to, or just layer it on the timeline. But whenever this plays now, this is going to create a clap. So I can turn this layer down. Then like very minimal processing, but I can just add some saturation to this and maybe like a fuse compressor. But you see, this is how I like usually like to get to my drums, because that way I don't have to like, it's imperfect, but in the best ways a lot of the times. So, I mean, yeah. And then maybe on this one, we can just move that out. I'm not going to start a track, but. And then as you hear beatboxing and stuff, but this is a great way to start your drums. And that's why I have these on all these patches, is because you can also use this as like percussion loops and stuff if you have MIDI down. But part of the reason why is because I don't like to fish for that. I don't like to surf for samples. I'd rather just try to have something jump out at me. But this has all different kinds of stuff that you can get into. So yeah, on this, these are a little bit more straightforward, but these are just pads or plucks that I have. And what I've done in the past with these is try to also have as much like variation for pads and whatnot as possible. But I think that a lot of times I was losing the consistency. And so that's why these are a little bit more simple, but they still sound really good. And then if you wanted to change it into a pluck, then because they're the same rack, this will turn it down, and then this will just swap in between these. So there is priority from like if both of them are on, but at the same time, it's just nice because you can just like pick one or swap in between. So this one is fun because this is something that I've been doing since Eternum, and these are just racks that let you kind of go crazy with different sounds and stuff. I would say like you might want to turn it down just a bit because they can be a little bit unpredictable, especially if you play in the higher register. But what is really fun about these is when you start to add the filter, or when you have the filter on, and then you start to add the glitch stuff. So check this out. And then by itself, and there's a bunch of these that you can use. But what's also cool is that you can try to place any of these other things in tandem and mix them in. And that's what makes this patch so versatile, is that when you start blending all this stuff, it's not always going to work, but yeah, it just gives you way more diversity for like things out of a single patch. Yeah. Or you can try to send this through a filter for the perk, so. And then something else that's really important is to be able to change the routing of this. So let's say I wanted the glitch rack to be first. And I have the filter on, and now whenever I turn this on, we're going to have glitch stuff, and I'm going to send it through the neural filtering. So. Yeah, and it's just great for texture, and that's kind of why I always do that, because sometimes if you need like filler effects to support your track, throwing stuff in the glitch or thing or whatever is just really fun. And what I will say is that all of these sound very different. Like, they are randomized sounds, but every rack I think is probably the most diverse. So the last macro that I have is the metal hit, and this is something new that I've been doing, which is trying to create basically like metallic leads, which is kind of nice because if you need something that's a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more aggressive, what is it? John Casey's, oh, I can't remember the name of it, but one of John Casey's tracks really inspired me for this, and I wanted to try to like create a bunch of iterations of my own stuff. So yeah, it just kind of has that like dingy and you can hear that the pitch is bending and stuff. So you might want to play it on cycle because there's an LFO or whatever, and it does start to teeter on getting out of key the further you go into it. But all this stuff is meant to be resampled into audio anyways. So, you know, if you play like a very simple melody, you know, then you can get some cool stuff. If you need to turn it off, you can just take the last LFO, which is this guy, and you can cycle through these. You can also apply this to the granular as well, because it's a rack in its own right. So if the wavetable isn't working for you, or you want to blend them 50-50, you can do that. Excuse me, which is kind of nice. And so, yeah, that's off of like a brand new patch or whatever. And I will say, like, all of these were designed to like work with whatever I was using, so they're going to be optimized for that. But even still, like, if you're not afraid to get in and do some tweaking, then you can get some cool stuff. So that's not all. We also have some other things to cover, which are this guy right here and this guy right here, which what these do is if you are trying to get neurofills and you add the pitching, then this will give you some very natural pitch sounds while jumping octaves, and so it sounds really nice when you add the neuro stuff. So always make it faster if you need to. And then when you add that with the pitch wheel, then what we're really searching for usually is just that cool fast movement with the heavy filtering. So that's that shit that I'm talking about. And that's where you get those like sick neurofills and stuff that you hear in, you know, those songs and whatnot. But I've tried to like make it simple for everyone, so that way you just send it through the filter and then kind of design it that way, because doing this by hand is not fun. I'll tell you that much. But when you start having that really sick pitch bending and stuff, and it's like, and you get that fast oscillation along with the filtering, like that's my favorite kind of basses and stuff, is when you have stuff like that. Shout out to G Space Grady. This is something that that we laugh about in between. So yeah, and then finally we have the sub again. So you can just turn that off, and you have a really nice fat sub. So yeah, I mean, this does everything. What else? What else is there? You know, it has drums, it has pads, it has plucks, it has glitch effects, it's got granular things, metallic leads, bass filtering. Yeah, there's a lot. So this one I want to talk about as well, because what this does is, this is kind of more of a novelty. As you'll notice, like there are FM things on here, but I don't use it that much, and if I do, I keep it very simple. And the reason why is because, as you can see, these wavetables are complicated, and so if you've watched any of my videos, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, if you have a simple waveform, then you can use complicated waveforms for FM. You can also use simple ones too, but they'll work well together. But if you have a complicated waveform and a complicated waveform, a lot of times that ends up just sounding like noise, which you can definitely go in here and change it up if you want to. That's why these are wavetables. But what these can do is sometimes give you more metallicness for either your plucks or like at the start of basses or whatever. So, and it's randomized, so it'll sometimes be short, sometimes you won't hear it, sometimes it'll be long and like not and kind of atonal, I guess. But let's go ahead and just make this long for the sake of being able to hear it. And then I also think that I'm randomizing the depth of this, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, and what these will do a lot of times is kind of just like jump in between different harmonics. So sometimes they're going to be in key, sometimes they're not going to be in key. But I wanted them to be like that, especially when you start adding in the metallic stuff, then see how it kind of has that? Yeah, and so a lot of times you can get more dinginess or whatever out of it, and it's just an extra layer for cool stuff. We talked about the sequence. There's a bunch of these wavetables in here. If you see any of them that look like this, then that means that they're meant to be melodies. But you can always change the scale if you want to. So let's say we go back to this, and let's say we just turn on the granular thing or whatever. You can change the scale via the remap, and if you want it to be like major or minor or pentatonic or whatever. The one thing that I will say is just be mindful that this says plus 24, and you'll see that this is from 0 to 24. If you set this to bipolar, then you want to do the 48 scale and set it to 24. Otherwise, you're going to get melodies that are not in key. I know it's a lot to remember, but you know, or just do what you want, because really that's what this is about anyways. But just like talking about the mechanics about how this works and stuff is kind of what that whole point is. But yeah, if I switch this to maybe like, is there even harmonic minor? Doesn't seem like it, but we can go minor pentatonic. And then we can just jump in here and pick a different sample. Yeah, super nice. So yeah, building a patch is really cool. And like, let's say for whatever reason, like you buy this and like you don't have a great computer that can't run all this shit, like don't worry about it because you can always just do this as well. Or you can grab a granular thing, you can load up this, excuse me. And kind of let that, there we go. You can let that play out. Then you can upload a Snap Heap rack and then pull up something like, let's do a different one. You can do, PP. I need to turn that filter on. Add a little bit of distortion. Add just a little bit of transient shaping. This is just for clipping. Kind of cycle through this. And yeah, you can kind of just create different stuff out of this. I think that, is this in C major? I was wondering why that sounded like that. I was like, it's too fucking happy for me. There we go. Yeah, which is great. So you can just break these racks down and then use them on individual patches and then save that. So yeah. All right, let's talk about the super patches and, or I guess just do some demos and have some fun. I think I already went through this one, if I'm not mistaken. And something that you might notice is just like how much more power is on this filtering stuff. I think that I nailed that for most of these, and it's really cool. So yeah, there's that. Here's some percussion. This is going to be loud. There is a gate on this, so sometimes I think if I don't hit this hard enough. Yeah, that's cool. And we got a pad. Cycle into the granular side. You might notice that this is a bit more quiet, and that's because I've done a lot of damage control to make sure that this is safe. On a lot of these, I've got like an insane amount of like ducking and dipping from resonances and stuff, because I'd much rather this be more quiet and you'd be able to turn it up than it be too quiet. So if it's not immediately jumping out at you and being like, wow, just know that's a safety thing. Yeah, so... Yeah, so I mean that's all within a single patch. And even just like going through it takes several minutes to kind of just see it all out and see what it has to offer, you know. And that's part of the reason why I like doing these, is because I want you to be able to return to them and be like, oh, let's get something else out of it, or like let's make one small change and be able to continue getting inspiration out of this stuff. And obviously this isn't my first pack doing this, but that's kind of the philosophy behind this, is to really just be like, let's make this shit simple. And simple, but still like not just give it to you. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Does anybody have any questions about this so far? Because we've only gotten through one of these patches. Yeah, there's a lot of content in this bank. And it's $45 if anybody's wondering. And that's another thing that you'll notice as well, is that a lot of these drums, I think I talked about it yesterday when I was doing a pre-thing, but you'll notice that there's a lot of similarities behind what's actually behind these racks for the percussion, but they kind of require a specific setup in order to get them to do what I want them to, which is, hey, how do we make this actually sound like a drum? And so like you'll notice that they're all different. Like if you open up these slice EQs, you'll see that the comb filters are different on every single patch. They're usually duplicated, but they're all individualized and stuff. And then of course like different convolvers and different like things, like this time I'm using nonlinear filter or whatever, but don't think that just because they look similar that they're the same. I've started every one of these from scratch pretty much. So but yeah, they all sound different, and that's great because I want you to have different percussion, different types of sounds or whatever. Yeah. Huh, cinematic. Stranger Things. Cool. Like I said, these are very different. Man, okay, so like stuff like this, excuse me. This is like why I make this, because making this, even though it doesn't have any bass in it, is so crazy. You know what I mean? Stuff like that is just awesome. Hey, Theme, what's up? And so, yeah, playing within the diversity of that is really nice. And then also, like, play within this stuff, too. We can do a neuro lead. Hey, Archer. What's up? Yeah, so that's really cool. Lots of stuff in there. I'll go through one more because I don't want to bore you all with the same thing, and I really just kind of want to give you the gist of what's going on. But I want to take a look at some of the other stuff that we have too. So. Man, when it pulses like that and like, ooh, that's what I love about this kind of music. As you can see, it's super aggressive. We got our percussion. We've got our pad. Just a little bit of distortion through that, but that's okay. We can pull that up. We've got granular stuff. I think that sounds a little bit out of key, but I'm not really sure why. Oh, it's okay.
Recording to logbook.
Yeah, which is cool. Yo, thank you, MLD. Yeah, so really nice. And then we got our glitch stuff. Wow. Yeah, some crazy shit. And then we've got our metal lead. Sick. Yeah. Yeah. Good day, Sully. So yeah, there's Bahamut Zero. But yeah, as you can tell, they're all kind of like that, and they're pretty sick. So if you guys are cool with it, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the other stuff now. So I'll just kind of sweep through some of these and show you what these are. Like I said, these are a lot more simple and kind of more of one-offs, but yeah, they're pretty cool. Hey, Puny, long time no see. Hey, Arthur, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thought that was kind of cool. Lots of metallic kind of sounding leads. This is an embodiment array. It's just, you know, it just looks cool. It's something to look at while I'm doing this. So this is just a percussion designer. You're gonna have to wait a little bit, but this will just give you a bunch of different stuff that sounds nice. Yeah. It's just noise for like throwing on a track. This one's sick. This is Nasty Tang. It's a lead. this one is really nice. Yeah, that one's cool. This was a patch that I did for Zane. I don't remember why we did it, but it was just for fun. So yeah, that was nice. This is meant to be kind of like a nuclear meltdown alarm. It's atonal, so don't try to play the correct key, but it was just something that I was trying to design. This one is a little bit washy. This one is really nice. Yeah, it just this is that kind of pad to fall asleep to. Have nice hands. I need to cut my nails. But thank you. This is just a soft square pluck. Instead of OnlyFans, it's going to be only hands. This is kind of just meant to be like a tension thing on top. This is a basic 8-bit. I already showed this one. Edward only hands. Push start. Yeah, so that's kind of like the miscellaneous stuff. And then we can go into some of the super or simple bases. I've already gone through the super patches, so if you guys want to see like the main focus of this pack, you can do that. But now we're looking at all the extra shit. Yeah, this one is so cool. It's pretty self-explanatory. Never enough distortion. So this one I want to talk about because this is kind of where I'm thinking I'm going to go in the future, to where I make it a little bit more simple. But this is just a bass, and there is something that's divided into a pattern rack, and then a random rack, and then a glitch rack. I wanted to do more of these, but unfortunately I just didn't have the time. I'm kind of on a crunch for like wanting to release this, and yeah, there's other circumstances at hand. But I do, if anybody cops this pack, I am curious as to what you think about this, because it does kind of go back more to the Eternum stuff. But yeah, anyways, it sounds like this. And what's cool about this is that you can kind of make your own pattern with it, I believe. Was it this one? And then with this one, you can also like draw your own stuff with it. So if you wanted it to kind of do this, you can.
Recording to logbook.
I have no idea why someone as creative and original as me has so few views. Some guy who takes a ready-made melody from Splice and adds simple percussion and Fruity Loops is called a big producer. Thank you for subscribing, Bishard. I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest. I don't know. I just do my thing, and that's all. Like, the fact that I have any attention whatsoever is something that I'm just gonna be grateful about, you know? So yeah, you can change these though with this on the LFO versus random, and oh, there we go. So you can change the pattern type with this. So I had it set up to be able to change the pattern type, and then if you want this to be random, it's actually a completely different bass rack, which would be this one. And so they sound different. And then of course it has a glitch rack on it, so. I don't know, man. I'm just, you know, like I said, just trying to do my thing. So anyways, yeah, this is something that I'm going to keep exploring with, but I wanted to include it. This is just a big donk. How do I stave off the ear fatigue and same warping patches? Turn it down. This one's going to be loud. Yeah. Yeah. We're not doing those simple, weak, foghorny things. We're doing the big, gigantic, large and in charge type sounds. This one is boo wow. Yeah, pretty cool. Boom Square 808. So just a nice 808 because I make those two. This one is a very stereo one. Yeah, pretty cool. This one. This is your typical like halftime, you know, saw 808. Oh, that's why I said that, because this one's crazy. Yeah, that one's insane. Typical growl bass. This one's just loud ass sounds. A cool little donk. So this one is just another donk as well, but you can kind of make it move into something that's more of a womp. Yeah, just like I said, super simple stuff. This one is kind of just I think just a simple rack, but okay, so this one is nuts because when you move the decay and the sustain, like you end up getting crazy shit. Let me turn this down just a bit. This one is a very simple neurobase patch. And the reason why I wanted to include something like this is because it kind of just walks you through the basic steps of how to get to where I got to with that, to make it nice and loud and insane. Pretty simple. This one is more of a wet morphing sound. It's crazy and like sloppy. Yeah, this one just has some really cool, like, I don't even know what to call it, but just that barrel, you know, stuff like that, which sounds pretty cool. And then there's another one here. And these racks are different, I believe. That's why there's a few of them. This one is a square. Yeah. Fart bass. Flabby. This one I really like. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like Sega Genesis. This is just a fat saw. This is a growly growl. Cora asked me to include some growls, so I made a couple, like not a lot, but you know, in case if people like that, there's that. And then down here you can customize these to make your own shapes. For all of you rhythm folks. Yeah. Impact 808. Cool little harmonic series bass. Yeah, lots of sounds. Yeah, that one's crazy. Yeah, there's a little bit of resonance in that one, but it still sounds cool. This one's another simple Reese, but it just kind of has some nice. This is the, like that tearing classic sound, you know, with that comb filter. Yeah, then that's kind of why I have these simple patches, is because I think that these are a little bit more traceable than being like, oh, how the fuck do I make this? You know, like this is pretty daunting. And the other thing too is that I talked about this before, but with these racks and stuff, you'll see that there's a lot of like alignment with these that like apply to multiple routing places, which I think is important. But even with this, like this is a lot to look at and being like, oh, how the fuck does this go here and this go here? And it's traceable by all means, but you can see that there's a lot of micro decisions in here. And the thing about neuro stuff, at least in my opinion, is that it's more about the subtlety and less about like, oh, just do this and put this at 15 and put this at 75 and put this at 12 o'clock. Like you can't do neuro shit like that. Like you kind of have to feel it out. It's just not going to work. Exactly. And you can take something simple and add to that, which I think is so important. I think that's really, really important. But yeah, so was there anything else that I thought was kind of cool? Rejected, rip. 808s, that sound you love. Oh yeah, this is the Moog. Right, and that's how it should be, you know, but I don't know, some people are very keen on like, oh, I tried to remake it and couldn't get it. I thought Focusrite was pretty good. Is it not? So this one is kind of like a bonus patch because I didn't think that it fit within the super patches that I had. It technically has a bunch of stuff on here. So it's got the filter, the percussion, and pads. But I don't know. From a quality standpoint, I was like, I'm just going to put it in the simple patches because I didn't think that it was good enough. I have a Volt 2 VAs or Volt 276 compressor, whatever the fuck. That's what I use. I like this one. It's kind of subtle, but it's cool. Yeah, I agree. Wraithy thing is cool. Yeah, I didn't want to like not include it, but I wanted to not have it be like, look how cool this patch is. It's kind of like a mid tier. It's just a nice aggressive bass, and then this is kind of just like a jungle bass, which is an 808, but it kind of has a little bit more of the formality of. Yeah, so that's those, and then we could go through the Balam Garden, or sorry, we can go through the other music factories. So these are awesome. Yep, FF8. There's lots of game references in this. It's not my CPU. It's distortion. Nice. Bells of Atlantis is kind of similar. Oh, man. Let me turn the filter up. Yeah, it's subtle, but I really like it. All right, so this is designed to help you get more samples out of the granular stuff. So what I have this factory designed for is to be able to swap in between these racks like I had talked about. And there's 4 stages here, which is basically a selector for different oscillators that all have their own tuning and stuff, which is really fun. So If you just hit C a bunch of times, then like you'll see. No pun intended. Sometimes you get the same stuff, but this is a starting point, and then once you have that, you can go into this and like make more simple things. So I don't know, we can do like harmonica. And then we can go into these racks here and start to pull up other stuff that will kind of help it just and then you can take all this stuff from rolling sampler and then just toss it back into, you know, your granular sampler. And that's why I like this. And that's why there's a factory. And there's a few of these. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So 5 different templates for you to work with. This is meant to be like a dirty pad. Sorry. And the other thing too is like all this stuff is contained within Phase Plant, but if you were to add something like this, it just sounds so nice. Because now you get the breath with the noise. Yeah, I really like that. Let me see. Dark Labyrinth, I think we already covered. No, of course not. Yeah, this one is a little bit more subtle. Oh, and I think that the reason why this is the way it is because it's based off of a trigger. Yeah. So you'd want to play like an arpeggiator or something with this. But I just like that it has a lot of subtle sounds in there. Can you copy like a full effects chain with macros to another patch in Phase Plant? I haven't used them much. Yeah, and that's why I have these templates on here. So you have to do it in racks, but if you look here, this is mapped to, why is this on? This is mapped to this one. So I guess you'll have to go back and change that. Sorry. I don't know how that happened. But if I were to change the preset here to a different one, then all of the mapping stays. And so now... Do something like that. Mapping stays. These are meant to be mapped to things on the outside, so if they don't move, that's why. Changing the oscillators in the same patch, or am I misunderstanding? No, you should be changing everything. So like it's all there for you to kind of fuck with. So there's this one, then you can be like, switch it up and see like what you can get. Like this whole thing is designed to be modular, as modular as possible. Oh, but no, like you can just cycle through the filter instead. Or like that, even still answering that question, you can do both. That's crazy. But yeah, and then you can save your own patches and all that other stuff. So yeah. Does anybody have any questions on this? It's on sale. There's a link in the description on alchemy.com. Pick it up, even just more music generators are worth the price. Well, like I said, I really just wanted to provide as much value as possible. I always want somebody to feel like they're getting a lot of value whenever I put something for sale. And this is no different. And this is going to be the last super patch pack that I do for a while. Maybe probably for... I'm going to try to not do one for at least another year or two. And the reason why is I just want people to be able to catch up with computers, because these are beefy patches. And if for whatever reason you have a potato, like it's okay. You don't have to like be like, oh, I can't use it. Just turn everything off that you don't want to use. And this will save you a ton of CPU. Because in theory, what's going on is all of these are being like, whenever we turn these on, like let's say you turn them all on at the same time. Like see, but if we start to turn it off, so this will save you CPU, so you can just use one at a time. A lot of time and effort in creating the patches, so I hope you get it. I hope so too. But that's part of the game that I play, right? Is to be like, hey, I make stuff and I try to do things that I think that people are gonna like and appreciate, and if it does well, it does well. If it doesn't do well, then I don't know, maybe it's time to do something different. And in this day and age with like sounds and stuff that people are selling, it's kind of hard to compete because uh I honestly don't know what people want. So I just make stuff that I like. And sometimes that's the best way to go, but from a marketing standpoint, that's not usually the best decision. But yeah, I will say, hey, if you do purchase this pack, please do me a favor. I really like, nobody has done this yet with any of the packs that I have, but at the very bottom, there's an add message here that is like a place that you can leave a review. And I know that it's small, so I designed this website, so that's a design error on my part, but please add a message and like just give me your honest opinion. Like tell me what you think, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Please don't just shit on it. I guess if you just shit on it, then if it's valid, if you shit on it, it's valid, I'll leave it up. If it's just being a jerk, then there's that. But yeah, so this is Requiem 3. I have 3 seasons of this, and then I have like the precursor to that with 6 episodes pretty much, or 6 series of Eternum. I've got these kinds of patches for Bitwig. I also have this style of patch for Ableton. So if you don't have Faceplant, that's okay. If you don't have Bitwig, that's okay. If you have Ableton, I have something for you too. And then if you just want the sounds or something, then I would recommend Abyss, which is like $20 for like 900 samples, to where all that stuff that I've just shown you, I've pulled out and made, individual bass hits and kicks and snares. This has over 900 samples in it for $20, and there's a lot of value. I shat my pants while playing the X patch. Uh, People don't even know what they want. Yeah, but I'm not here to try to tell them what they want either. I'm here to just hopefully impress people. And listening now, I genuinely think they're pretty well curated, very strong sounds. The pads are especially good. A lot of sounds better. A lot of the other sounds, specifically, pretty applicable to most genres. Yeah, thank you, man. Um, yeah, uh, and I guess to kind of like wrap this video up, or wrap the stream up, I kind of want to just remind everyone that these racks, if you have Snap Heap and Multipass, can be used on other things. If you don't have Snap Heap and Multipass, these patches will still work. You just need to download the plugins. So it will let you tweak them. So anything that's regarded as a macro will let you tweak them, but what you don't have, it won't let you change. So like if you don't have the convolver, you can't go in and change the convolver, but you can change the macros. So there's that. You don't have to have the whole entire kilohertz suite, which is awesome. Faceplant is so consumer friendly in that regard. But yeah, if you have something like Vital or whatever, which if you're just looking for freebies and shit, I do have a free Vital pack, which I don't think that these you can't do nearly as much cool shit as you can in Vital as you can in Faceplant, of course, but you know, they're good starters. But let's say you got something like that and then you just go Multipass. You can use these racks individually, and I highly suggest that you do because you might end up getting some cool shit. And from a usability standpoint, something that I always do, actually, let me just pull this up, is I always have a neuro rack on everything. So even though the patches and stuff that we listen to are cool, I'd be the first to admit that they're not always music ready. So I add an OTT, I add a reverb on the top end, and then I add a clipper. So just to let that be known. But yeah, this kind of sometimes can help pull the rest of the patch out really nicely. Oh shit. Maybe this one doesn't need it. Yeah, so you can get like huge sounds out of that just from. We can do something like this. Yeah, some pretty cool. And then also if you have like things that you want to add or change into a pad, I would pull up current, but I can't because of reasons. So if you wanted to add to that, then you know you can go Snap Heap and pull up another rack to also try to make it more interesting. Just got to turn the mix up. You will notice that all of the mixes are turned down on this. That's because they're all designed within the patches. So like I did try to just like go in and be like, today I'm making a bunch of these, and then you know like just do like generic ones, but I found that when I'm making these patches, catering them towards what I'm hearing at the time is usually the way to go. So, yeah. Family friendly arpeggiator. Dude, have you seen Harmony Bloom? Harmony Bloom is awesome. Yeah, it just adds a little bit more, you know, just a little more character. And then if you have like a whole song or whatever, then you can throw your glitch racks on anything, you know, which I would actually suggest because sometimes you can get some cool shit. So if you have like a drum loop, we can just leave that on repeat. Does it have a gate on it? No, you just need to let it cook for a bit. Right. Or what you could also do is which this like this is for people that are advanced, but do this and see what you get. Uh, right, and that's the goal. But look, here goes. I'm scared. Oh, we're capping. No, they haven't. Not since version 3, I think. No, you shouldn't be. Yeah. Dope. So there's that. Okay, finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is kind of like what I was talking about from before. So, if we have something like this, then one of the most powerful tricks that you can utilize with this stuff is resampling something out of this and pulling it back into the granular synth. Which, ow, I am curious. That fucking hurt. I just poked myself in the eye. If I go into a regular sampler, will that keep that? No. Okay. So if we pull up something like this, right, we've got our movements and blah, blah, blah. So if we just record out like a C note, then what we can do is pull this back from rolling sampler and just grab this. And now we can pull faceplant back up and toss this back into our rack, which is awesome. So if I go like this, now we have a granular patch that has this in here to be able to move this and to work on keeping this like as a cycle, right? Because we can start to manipulate this even more, especially if we start setting up like looping and stuff. So we do need to turn it up a bit because it's pretty quiet. But I wonder if I can just go... Hold on 1 second. There we go. That's crazy. So to be honest, it would probably be better to toss this back into a regular. Like not all of it, it's not always going to work, but if we go to new and then we go to sampler and then we toss this in, let's try that. Because now we can actually set up looping. And then we can go in and grab a rack and go into our filtering and see what that does. But we can also set up looping here to where we can do something kind of like this. Right? And then we can have something here. Let's go ahead and make the gain of this a little bit louder. Because now whenever we play with the pitching of this, we can also randomize the loop point if we wanted to. So we could do something like this. There we go. And so now whenever we turn the rack on, we can do something kind of like this. That's crazy. Yeah, if we were to add a notch, I'm sure that would help. There we go. But yeah, this would be for the more advanced people to really get down and like start messing with this stuff. Start furking with this stuff. So yeah, exactly. And like this is something that you'll have to tweak or whatever, but that's kind of the point of it, is that if you start thinking about beyond what this is supposed to be, like this is more than enough to just give you, you know, sounds right out the gate that sound really good. And then when you start adding stuff like that and you know, start messing with pulling more things out, and then you resample it, and then you resample it, and then you resample it, then that's where stuff gets really fun. And so, yeah, and then like also try other stuff. You know, something like Beam, which is one of my favorite things. You can get some really cool shit just from getting weird interactions like this. But this is a beginning point that can go as deep as you want it to, or you can just let it be and just use what it has for, its availability or whatever. I have not. Hey, Michael, what's up? And you can get just more cool stuff out of this, right? Now, if you do a multipass filter on that, at this point I'm just exploring, but yeah. To be honest, like I don't have a virus, but I do have a syntact, which can give me some pretty gnarly Reeses. And then I have an analog heat. So if I want to go like the analog route, then I'll do that. And then also Bitwig's filter and Filter Plus has a lot of analog modeled stuff, which is really nice. Lots of different distortion types, lots of different filter types on here. And so I'll kind of just push stuff through that. But yeah. Anyways, the rabbit hole with this just keeps going and going, and it's really about what you have the patience for. But if you don't have the patience for stuff, this is all readily available for you. So on that front, guys, I really appreciate you guys hanging with me while I show you everything this pack has to offer. But in light of that, yeah, I know how the internet works. But yeah, does anybody have any questions about this before I take off? Hopefully that kind of gives you a demonstration. Yeah, I'm online Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Today is a little bit different just because I'm putting this pack out, but it's on alchemy.com. So if you go here, I think it's the first thing that shows up if you scroll down now, if I'm not mistaken. Cheers, Alckemy. Requiem 3 looks sick. We'll pick it up when money comes in. Yeah, thank you. And let me know how you like it. Yeah, so if you go to the store, which I'll fix that on there, then it's right there. Yeah. And if you're wanting to know how to make this stuff, then you can book lessons with me. I also have tutorials on how to do this stuff for Arcana memberships. I don't have any restrictions when it comes into information. I will teach you everything I know how to do. Your success is my success. So you can book me for lessons. You can check out the master classes from the Arcana memberships if you want to. Teach you how to do drums, teach you how to do pads, all that. Teach you about beat making mindset. Even though I'm going through a block right now currently, the information is still solid. I should probably just go back and watch that again. But yeah, I do think that this pack is for a lot of people, even if you just want to study them. But yeah, you'll just have to let me know what you think, and I am curious. So grab the pack, enjoy it, let me know, and I will see you all tomorrow, where I will not be doing sound design. You guys, I'm so sick of sound design for a day. Shit, I actually have more to do, but I'll have to do that later. But all right, guys, thank you so much. Please like the video. Even if this pack isn't for you, if you know somebody that would like it, it would really help a lot if you send it to somebody or just tell someone about my channel. Help me grow. That would mean the world to me. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your weekend, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.